Good morning. It's October 25th. I have today off and my wife has to be in St. Louis Saturday, so I have tomorrow. And I plan on doing 2 days of nothing but fall pictures. It's October 25th. The fall colors are real close to peak, so I think I've timed this well. It's overcast and kind of drizzly today, so it might make for some good photos. I've kind of been slack on the blog, video blog on my Ozarks photos, so I plan on adding from this trip and tomorrow's trip the photography part, and then I plan on adding the Lightroom, how I post process, and even all the way into Photoshop. It's been a while since I've done that, so I apologize. I got all my camera gear. I brought my GoPro, of course, that's what I'm recording on, and I brought my drone. Ceiling or the clouds seem real low, so I won't be flying real high. I've been thinking about doing a panoramic with my drone, see how that works. But the colors are nice. I don't have to go around looking for trees, they're all around me. This morning I'm heading to St. James, Maramac Springs. It's a fishing trout park, and see what I can do there. I got about 20 minutes away from home and realized I forgot the most important accessory a photographer can have: a good tripod. I left my tripod at home. I got rain gear with me, I got cold weather gear with me, my big rubber boots, may wear them, but kind of looking forward to this. There was no reason to get up early. I looked at my weather apps and they said it was going to be cloudy all day. I think I have the same for tomorrow. That's another good thing about fall photography. You don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You can get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock and still have plenty of time. It's about a 45-minute drive, so when I get there I'll talk you through some compositions, things like that. It's always hard when you're recording to know when to record and when to take still pictures. So, made it to St. James. Yeah, it's kind of cool, but I found a spot not for pictures but for drone flying. I'm on a scenic overlook, and I've got this scene behind me I'll show you in a minute, right there. And I'm thinking about flying my drone real slowly through these trees and then opening up to that spot right there. There's a vulture sitting right here in the tree. I just now noticed. I don't think you can see him sitting right up there in that tree. So he's probably cold and wet, but I think I'll fly straight out here. I don't know what the vulture will do. Oh, here comes another one. So far it's pretty, but I haven't seen a picture yet. So I just took my drone off, flew over through the trees over the valley. Beautiful color, flat lighting, so I'll have to bump up the contrast. And I also tried my first panoramic photo. Don't know how I did till I get back to the computer, but it's a lot of fun. It's nerve-wracking flying this drone because you hear all kinds of stories about them crashing and stuff like that, so I get a little nervous every time I fly it. But I'm gonna put it up and see what else I can find. It's probably been 3-4 years since I've been down here. I just took some pictures of a deer crossing the road. I have my wildlife setup, and I've talked about that before. I have my 200 to 400 millimeter lens in, and I have a U1, user 1, user 2 setting. User 2 is for shooting wildlife, and what I do there is I shoot automatic ISO. It adjusts the ISO, and I choose a higher shutter speed and let the f-stop fall where it will. But you never know. Sometimes they turn out good. I'm not a great wildlife photographer, but I do set up my camera just for that purpose. I'm just pulled over because I seen this old fence right here, and there's some pretty color in here, but somehow I got to figure out a composition to add the fence, and I like that part right there. And there's some pretty color right here, so maybe shooting this way. I'm gonna try it. It's the first picture. You always got to get that first picture out of your system. So I'm gonna grab my gear. Here's my camera setup. I'm shooting the Nikon D750. I have my favorite lens on, which is a 24 to 70 with a polarizer on a tripod. I'll switch it to U1, which is user 1. That's my landscape setup, and on it I shoot ISO, the lowest ISO on this camera. It's 100, and I start off at f8. I did a lens test, and on this lens, that's the sweet spot of the lens. The reason for the lower ISO, the lower the ISO, the better the image quality. So now I'm gonna work the composition. Not sure I like the way this fence looked, but I have to figure out angles, leading lines, things like that. So I don't know if you can see this. This is my basic composition. I'll record some on the camera, my D750, but I wanted to show you how I figure out my exposure. I leave my histogram on there, and I just move, because I'm using aperture priority. It picks my aperture, and I just move my shutter speed until I get, and you can see my display changes, but I don't trust it, so I move this all the way over till my highlights are touching the right hand side of the histogram. I'm going to focus stack this, because at f8 it may not. I'll focus down here in the corner, focus here, then focus in the background, and bring them all together. I may have to crank up my ISO a little bit because there's a slight breeze, and I'm only getting 1/3 of a second. Okay, I'm recording this. Like I said, I'm going to be focusing right here, right there, and then in the background. I want to show you the polarizer, what it does. Okay, there's without the polarizer, or turning the polarizer, and as I turn, look how the colors pop a little more. So now let me do this exposure. Well, I shot 2 exposures here, got that out of my system. Shot one horizontal, one vertical, or the modern way to say that is one portrait, one landscape. But I got one in the camera, so moving on. Okay, so I've changed my mind. I'm thinking about doing a pano of this fence and see what that looks like. So I'm gonna set that up, and I'll show you when I get it all set up. So I've got my pano set up. I tried to level my tripod as best I could. I need to buy one of those base levelers like video photographers use, but this is what I'm seeing on the back of the camera. I always go vertical when I shoot my pano so I have enough room. I'm going. got the first exposure out of the way. It got cold, so I turned up the heater. It is a little chilly. I have extra, excuse me, extra clothes in the back if I need it. So now, just driving around until something else catches my eyes. There's another old fence here. Okay, so I shot another photograph. I used these leading lines to point the viewer's eye down in the valley. I had my polarizer on. Shot at f10, or I'm sorry, f11. I think my shutter speed was down around 1 second, so I had to wait for the wind to stop. There is just a slight bit of movement, and I might try another one at a higher ISO. The GoPro without the microphone, the boom microphone, see how it works, because it'd be a lot easier to carry it this way. Anyway, this is my picture that I'm shooting now. The wind's picking up, so I'm gonna have to pick a faster shutter speed and see what I get. If you can hear me over the rushing water, but I just took a picture of this scene behind me here. I did some focus stacking. The colors are really popping with the polarizer. So I wish I could fly my drone here, but there's just too many fishermen here. I'm gonna walk over. I got a ways to go to the car, so I'm gonna start walking. I don't know how good you can hear me, but if you've been to Maramac Springs, everybody shoots this. It's been shot 1,000,000 times, 1,000,001 now. What I did is do a slow shutter speed and a fast shutter speed, and I'll combine some texture into the water so I don't get full cotton water effect. And then I also shot down this way, and I did the same thing. I like this tree and the bridge down there, so I did the same thing. I shot one at a faster shutter speed and one at a slower shutter speed. I do that by changing my ISO. So I didn't do a lot of recording down by the water. I tried different things, changed to my 14mm, 14 to 35. I stayed away from places that I've shot before. Well, I shouldn't say places I shot before, but angles I've shot before. So I've got a long ways, not a long, half a mile to the vehicle. I'm walking back, and I think I'm going to call it a morning. So I think I'm done at St. James. It's 1 o'clock, so I've been here since 8. Took quite a few pictures. It's great to get back to the truck and have my Yeti full of hot coffee. I've got a cup of hot coffee, and I got about a 45-minute drive home. So I'm heading home.